I mean, it's not breaking news anymore that Chadwick Boseman passed away just last week. Blasting. I mean, it's not breaking news that he's played some of the most iconic black figures in history. And it's not breaking news that he brought to life one of the most important cinematic figures of the 21st century. But what is breaking news to me is that I'm not the only one who felt like we lost someone extraordinary last week. We live in a Hollywood world where actors are not as much of a commodity as they used to be, in an age where characters are bigger celebrities than actual celebrities. Actors can be replaced over and over, and the characters will still stand the test of time. Certainly, Batman and James Bond come to mind, but even like remade movies and stories like Little Women, or even A Star Is Born, that movie has been made like 4 times, long before Lady Gaga ever stepped into the film script. But when they announced who the Black Panther was going to be played by, I was ecstatic. I knew already that Chadwick Boseman was going to deliver a wonderful performance. I had already seen a good portion of his work by the time they made the announcement that he was going to be Black Panther for Captain America Civil War. I knew they found the right guy. And, most people were just happy that we were getting Black Panther on the silver screen. Woohoo. But the blockbuster is the most profitable film out there, and in a wonderful age of fantastic superhero movies, it's almost the only movie that people are going to go to an actual movie theater to see. I was fortunate enough, like many of you, to have seen and partaken in the extravagance of the Black Panther feature film in its original run. I knew it would be successful. I mean, it's a Marvel movie. I mean, you can't help but think that now, but I don't think anyone could have honestly predicted the massive cultural impact for the film, after its original release. Obviously, a large portion of the credit goes to Ryan Coogler, the director and co-screenwriter for the film. Certainly the cast: Lupita Nyong'o, Letitia Wright, Angela Bassett, Sterling K. Brown, Forrest Whitaker, and of course, Michael B. Jordan's notable portrayal of Killmonger. But on top of that, with this story, you need an actor of elegance and grace to portray the King of Wakanda. It's in the core writing of the character. There was no one else for the role besides Chadwick Boseman. Marvel's gone on to admit that in recent years. So when Mr. Boseman passed, it was clear to me that we lost a true talent. But I also was really glad to see that he impacted others in the same way, and not just for his performance in a blockbuster film. His body of work was astounding. I think seeing Black Panther for many was their introduction to Chadwick Boseman, and they wanted to see what else he was bringing to the silver screen throughout the years, and what he could do next after he finally hung up his claws, whenever that was going to be. I'm very happy that others became aware of his phenomenally natural talent. I get excited when an actor that I know or trust signs on to a TV show or a film that I'm really passionate about. There's almost no such thing as bad casting anymore. Almost. That's a topic for another day. But I wasn't sure if I would be one of the few that had a genuine reaction to his death as a person, as a human being, not just, a talented actor from a big franchise. It was unfortunate that he gave us so much quality content while suffering in so much pain. But that makes him even more spectacular in my eyes. He was a hero. He was simply a king. And it's up to all of us, me, the boys at the table, you watching at home. It's up to everyone to carry on his legacy and tell his story. Let our children's children know the magic he had when he brought to film Jackie, James, Thurgood, and T'Challa. Rest in power, Chadwick Boseman. Wakanda forever. Does anyone want to add anything to say their bit about Mr. Boseman?
Not really. I think you summarized it pretty nicely. I just watched Black Panther. I'm sure a lot of people are rewatching it now. Yeah. I just watched it myself the other night, and yeah, it's certainly tinged with a little sadness. But again, I'm so glad that we got to see the performances that we did out of him. What an incredible thing to be performing like that with that on your back the whole time, and to still be, by all accounts, kind and generous, and yeah.
And it wasn't public knowledge.
No.
Until last Friday night.
Exactly.
That's what blows my mind.
I was hoping and praying that it was a hoax. Actually, when I first heard about it, I was like, oh no, that's a bad taste, a joke in bad taste. Unfortunately, it wasn't. But yeah, just crazy, absolutely crazy.
Yeah. Nope. He was just an incredible person and an incredible talent.
I need to actually watch some more of his movies. Honestly, there's a lot of his catalog that I've never seen, and I realized I should. Yeah,
he had a film released on Netflix back in June. It was a Spike Lee joint. I cannot remember the name of the title to save my life, and I sincerely apologize. But yeah, he had that coming out, and he also has another film coming out as well. With Viola Davis. It's based on an August Wilson play, I believe, and that's dropping next month, coming on Netflix. So
word.
I would definitely check that out, as that is his final film role before he passed.
Yeah.
So it feels like a limited selection as far as things that he's produced, but I mean, the quality content and all of that, like, he's never really had a flub performance.
No, it's an astounding body of work, and I think that done more sort of in his brief time than a lot of actors do in their entire careers.
I know.
And I really do think that's like a safe statement to make. My introduction to his work was through the James Brown movie, and I thought he was great in that.
He was great in it. I personally wasn't the biggest fan of the script as far as the breaking the fourth wall, but that's nothing against his performance. He committed and delivered, and he was astonishing.
Yeah, like I felt like I was watching James Brown and not an actor acting.
That's the sign of a solid performance for sure.
Exactly. And I really think you hit the nail on the head. With like so much of our like cultural ideology and the way that we think the things that we think and do the things we do comes directly from the things that we see on television.
Absolutely.
And so to have somebody who has that level of iconicness.
Yes,
absolutely. Right? I was gonna say
iconicity.
Yeah, iconoclasticity, but that's not the right word.
Iconoclasticity.
To have somebody that is that level of an icon, and to, I like to think that there's a level of sort of like narrative and like consciousness that goes into like choosing the roles that you choose.
Absolutely.
And creating sort of that platform around himself, and being like really in both the literal and sort of the figurative sense of like a role model for countless number of people.
Yeah, Ryan Coogler recently. Yeah, Ryan Coogler, the director for the film, recently came out and said that there were some days where Ryan wasn't sure if he was going to deliver a good product. There were some days where he wasn't really aware of what it was going to be, just because he could tell that there was a lot of pressure on it. He wasn't sure if he was the right man for the job. But then talking to Chadwick about certain things, like maybe some nights where they're going at 2 a.m., 4 a.m. as far as filming, he's there still just as excited about getting ready to do the next take, because he knew how important this movie was going to be. He knew in his gut, this is something special.
Exactly.
This is something that has not been done before. And me as an audience member seeing Black Panther the first time, it made me aware of how much of a cultural shift we need in Hollywood to tell authentic, incredible stories. And this was just for a fictional universe. Imagine what we could do with this kind of tradition and culture in a nonfiction kind of story. Wouldn't that be something that has a wide release where many people can see it and be entertained by it? Similar to Crazy Rich Asians in some way.
Taking control of the ideology and the narrative, where that is, you're directly replacing these structural stereotypical elements with things of your own design, building that alternative.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I love that this change is coming. As far as Hollywood, I certainly think, Black Panther was contributing toward the cause. I think Wonder Woman, Captain Marvel, and Black Widow coming up are also going to be influential films and impactful. I certainly think Shang-Chi is going to also kind of hopefully have the same impact as Black Panther as far as bringing a totally different culture and ideology to mainstream audiences, you know, and I really hope for that. I'm very excited for Shang-Chi. I did notice in the comments, Crossover brought a very interesting question as far as what will happen
Black Panther
with
2.
Black Panther 2.
Yes, it's it's obviously a question that you almost don't want to ask, but at the same time, it's the first question that a lot of people are going to ask, especially being scared of the idea that they might try to recast T'Challa, which I
firmly believe
it can happen.
I'll make the statement right here and now. I firmly believe that Kevin Feige, who had an absolute love for all of the actors that he's worked with and pitched his Marvel stories to, I do not think there's any way in hell that he would recast T'Challa. I do think the Black Panther franchise will continue, as the mantle is still just as important as whoever is wearing it. I do think that Letitia Wright as Shuri, I think, will step into the throne, either the throne or take up the mantle. But I don't see them recasting T'Challa. I think someone else will become the Black Panther, but I don't think he would do that and replace T'Challa. I know that they have replaced actors previously. They've obviously replaced the Hulk, notably, and they replaced War Machine. But that was also one in the early Phase 1 stages of Marvel. And two, those were due to financial and credit issues. No one passed away. So I think
that's a huge
different.
Yeah, very different.
And Kevin Feige's smart enough to know that there'd be a huge blowback to it. He knows it'd be a terrible idea.
Oh, the backlash would be insane, right? Because like that,
cancel the MCU basically. At that point.
It's such, even if you, I was gonna say even if you don't try to be, but part of me almost doesn't even believe that there would be a genuine way to do it. Like it would be such a transparent, like, well, we need to make this movie because the studio needs to make money, so put somebody else in the boots, like that. Like people, like it's such an easy one to see through. You know what I mean? Like people would freak out. Exactly.
But there will be a sequel, and there should be a sequel. There's more stories to tell from this culture, but Kevin Feige, I consider to be the smartest producer in Hollywood. Why? Because he's made the biggest movies in Hollywood history, and he's done it on a continual basis. Like, the proof is in the numbers. There's no opinions necessary here. It's factually the biggest movies of all time.
Well, I trust
him.